Serve you breakfast. We're looking at the dawn after the sunset, whether necessary, and the steps that we have to take. Actions after the Z9 chopper crash that claimed 8 lives. 7 officers of the Ghana Air Force and 5 others who played critical role in the government of the day. 2 cabinet ministers, 1 security couple, 1 national executive of the NDC.
I am writing this very last letter to you on my deathbed.
And 1 other who worked at NADMO as the number 2. Akwesi Shandoff is a media relations officer of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, under whose auspices that event was going to happen on the 6th when the unfortunate incident happened. Good morning. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, good morning. It's a pleasure always to be here.
I know that the ministry is yet to recover from the trauma of the disaster that we went through. Some level of closure has been brought to the issues as we speak. But beyond that, tell me what the ministry is, the ministry's mood is at this time.
So first off, again, good morning to yourself and to the rest of our listeners across the globe. As of now, I think, like you rightly indicated, we are still in that devastated mood. I do not think we'll be able to recover immediately, especially when the unfortunate incident happened while our fallen heroes were on their way to an event that we were organizing.
Right.
Of course, naturally, anytime you remember the event, it will come to mind, that tragedy would come to mind. And so the mood is still down, but we have to be able to rise from the ashes regardless, because I, for instance, have had cause personally to indicate that the greatest tribute, indeed, the minister has even reiterated at the same points, that the greatest tribute you can pay to the fallen heroes is to end the very thing they were on their way to come and support, illegal mining.
Right.
So though we are in dark and ashes, we are still rising, and in the days to come, we would announce the new raft of measures, the enhanced measures. Of course, there has been the commentary that we seem to be saying that we're going to be doing more because of this. That's not necessarily the case. Already we have been on track, but naturally, no matter the threshold of your performance, if an incident like this hits you, you would be compelled to do more. And so our doing more is not reactionary, so to speak. It's only natural that after something like this, you would go a notch higher, and that is what we are considering and doing as of now.
In terms of what you're doing now, give us a plan. What does it look like?
So first off, the most important reason, if I don't know if I'm getting the right words, the key contributor or the key trigger to illegal mining is the licensing, the whole licensing process, because that is what will give room for anybody to begin in the very first place. As of now, as we speak, we have placed a ban on the issuance of all licenses, and this is not following the incident necessarily. It's something that has been in place already. We have placed a ban on the issuance of all licenses. So from the time the minister took office up till now, no new license has been issued whatsoever. Indeed, at the end of this very month, I think somewhere last 2 or 3 weeks, we issued a statement to the effect that there are some over 900 small-scale mining licenses that are going to be revoked because of various degrees of irregularities. The affected individuals pleaded or they raised objections, and therefore the ministry decided to give them some grace period for those issues to be rectified. By the end of this month, there is going to be a final communication on that, and that is all part of the ongoing cleansing system. You have to make your licensing regime very robust, because if it is not robust, then it becomes a loose avenue for people to get into the forest in the first place, then before we would ask security to be chasing them out. So the first and perhaps one of the most important things we are doing now is to strengthen that licensing regime and even extending it to the large-scale mining firms as well. The second, I will just touch on 2. The second has gotten to do with law enforcement. You can sanitize the regime. You can create all the relevant protocols. But If somebody wants to be errant and devastate the environment, they do not even care whether they have licenses or not. And that is where law enforcement properly comes in. Thankfully, we have the NIMOS, National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat. They have been spearheading all the raids, the swoops, and all the combative measures where the fight against illegal mining is concerned, led by its Director of Operations. As I speak, they are on the grounds. In fact, even on the day the incident happened, the day after, they were still working, because they work endlessly to ensure that we take the miscreants out of the forest. So that is the part about law enforcement, active law enforcement for that matter. Then the third one, which I'll settle on for the purposes of this engagement, is the new program we launched. I mean, surrounding which we recorded on unfortunate incident. Our COMSDEP. If you go to many of the mining communities, the justification they give for doing illegal mining is the fact that they don't have an active economic enterprise. Basically, they do not work. And so because they don't work, they are constrained. They feel that is the only thing that can help them make a living. What we have done now is to bring on board the RCOMSDEP. If mining is indeed the venture they want to trade in, this time around, we want to regulate it. It has to be well regulated and it has to be sustainable. That is, if those in those enclaves still think that it's mining they want to do, it's mining they still want to do. If they don't want to do mining, there are other alternatives. And the whole of this week, we're going to be communicating on the framework of that RCOMSDEP policy, because it's a game changer in a lot of ways, because fast for mining, it is not wrong. Mining in itself is not wrong. And indeed, you cannot stop mining. But can we do it very responsibly with recourse to all the relevant protocols and environmental standards? That's what our COMSDEP seeks to do. So we are reforming the licensing regime as of now, strongly for that matter. Very ambitious and combative law enforcement. And then our COMSDEP would also, will handle the economic aspects of the fight.
LI 2462 comes to mind. And if you say you are enforcing or if you like reviewing the licensing regime, forcefully, LI 2462, which gives the licensing authority to allow people to go and mine in forest reserves, etc. Your government promised that you were going to repeal it altogether. How do you marry the two of enforcing a strict licensing regime versus the law that still exists to say people can mine in forest reserves?
So as of now, there is no provision of that nature again, given the fact that Section 3.2 of the regulation, indeed, it is that section that previously gave the executive president and then the minister the room to grant access to forest reserves, I should say. As of now, that aspect has been blotted out through the earlier amendments that was carried. The future of LI 2462 in the coming days would be communicated, because over the weekend I had cause to say, and it is on record, that government is going to launch, like the foreign minister said, a fight that has never been seen before. There has also been the conversation on LI 2462, the future of LI 2462 in its entirety. Indeed, it is only a section that was amended. Okay, some have actually had cause to praise that amendment, because that amendment is basically the meat of the matter. It is the area, the region that gives the executive authority in the first place. You have cleared that. But the concern is that repeal the entirety of the law. There has been the conversation around it. The engagement has been had, and very soon the official communication would be given in that particular respect.
Let's go on to the phone line now and speak with Togbe engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, and I'm sure that his name is not new at all when it comes to the fight against illegal mining. In fact, he championed the cause and led all of us within the media to have a coalition to scream at top of our lungs, run advocacy to make sure that it becomes a thing of the past. He joins us now. Good morning, sir. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thank you very much for mentioning all what I am known for, especially my Togbi, which was given to me by my grandmother.
Yes, sir. So let's begin the conversation from this point. I know that there have been talks about the fact that we should not let the opportunity following the demise of the 8 national heroes to go without making a bold statement and a bold commitment and ending galamsey forever. Do you get the sense that the government has caught the message and intend to do something about it?
Well, I think that, good morning to you and your listeners. I think we need to give the government a bit of time. We just did the final burial on Friday, and but there are a few opportunities that came. I had the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs said there was a conversation in a mini cabinet meeting, and some decisions have been taken. I would want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they wanted to bury our 8 heroes before they get into this. But I think that a few opportunities came that we missed. I think it was the week of the death. We had some 9 Chinese being arrested. Now I would have thought that we would have, gone at it a different way. But these Chinese people were sent to the immigration, which meant they were going to be deported.
Right.
And we were not going to follow Act 995, which is a clear illegality.
Right.
That policy from the Minister for Interior is a clear illegality, and I would urge the Honorable Muntakada that does not, honor that particular policy is a wrong one. It does not honor his colleagues and the other 6 that died. So it's a policy that I'm hoping that will be turned around. But as I do that, I also would want to commend the government and the IGP and the police people who went into that Manso area where, in the face of stone throwing, hitting them with stones, they stood their ground and they have arrested the assemblyman who was leading that illegality. And so what I'm hoping is that we will get into full action. And so the DCE who came to come and defend the act that was going on there as not being mining, forgetting that even if it was sand winning is part of the extractive industries that require a permit from itself, from the EPA and all of that.
Right.
And so if he demonstrates such incompetence, the only thing I would say is that for him to have come defending an act like that would be because, apart from the incompetence, which he should be dismissed immediately for, he should also be arrested and investigated. Is he complicit? Why is it that he, in the face of an obvious illegality, not only the extractive illegality, but when citizens attack the police, that is a grave illegality. And for him, the DC, what thing happens, he would not look at that in the face of his senior colleagues haven't died in a crash. And so for me, the attitude that government needs to take in getting into dealing with these people who I call environmental criminals involved in environmental crime, it should be resolute. We need to take the line that people like Dr. Toniedu, the likes of the EPA, CEO have been towing. We need to be resolute. In as much as we want small scale miners, medium scale miners, large scale miners, everybody to mine and mine responsibly. We should not be tolerating any illegality and any irresponsibility. I drove from Takwa to Obuasi on Saturday morning. If you see the level of degradation happening in plain sight, if you stand on the Dungo Bridge looking over the Ofin, there are galamseyers sitting on Chamfan, on the river doing it in plain sight. On the roads, from the roads, the Anyamfuri side and all of that, there is galamsey still happening close to the road. And the DCE in those areas, the MCEs in those areas cannot say they don't know. If you travel from Obuasi towards the Obuasi airstrip, there are galamseyers sitting in those pits who are doing galamsey. A small-scale miner should mine and mine responsibly. And that's the thing. But this impunity, this ecocide that is going on should not be tolerated. And we're hoping that the government would declare a state of emergency in those parts that this thing is happening, and that for any area that galamsey is happening. Because the president has said that for all the DCs and MCs where there's mining going on, their communities, a critical KPI they would have would be DCs. So what we would, as a coalition, we would suggest to the president is that any MC, DC where galamsey is taking place, the first thing that should have been happening is that they should be dismissed for incompetence.
I see.
And immediately they're dismissed for incompetence, they should be investigated for complicity. Get FIC to get in there, trace every resource that is coming to them, to their wives, their partners, their children, their friends, so that we find out if there's any money from this illegality that is coming to them. The same thing should apply to the police, the divisional police commanders, the district police commanders, and the station commanders in this community. If it is happening in there, they should be held responsible for it, and they should be investigated. And one of the things His Excellency said last October when he met the media was the fact that we should be dealing with the kingpins. And I completely, as an engineer, I agree with him.
Right.
We should do root cause analysis and deal with the problem from the roots. And the people who are responsible for this, as a politically exposed person, as the people of influence, the people who can buy 10, 20 excavators, each at a minimum of $200,000. These are the people. We need to follow them. You remember that in America, when 9/11, they drove those aircraft into the Twin Towers.
That's right.
Immediately what they did was a money laundering, and the whole thing about terrorist funding was brought in. What we need to have our money laundering act also adding funds from illegal mining. We should put it at the forefront and be looking at all of these people who are involved in it. Bear in mind, the past 5 years, we have had Ghana lose $11.4 billion past the past 5 years. If we had gotten that 11.4 billion, you think we would have had the GDP?
I see.
So,
let me bring in Pakwesi Shadow, who is in studio. He speaks for the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. But this is what the engineer thinks. First, sack the DCs and investigate them for complicity, right? Sack them for incompetence, investigate them for complicity. And then also, show a strong hand in trying to deal with this. How does your ministry propose to proceed? Because you are the mother ministry of the agencies that regulate all of this, right? Tell me, what's your plan?
So first off, I want to touch on his advocacy call for declaration of a state of emergency. So on that point, the call for the declaration of a state of emergency prior to now had merit.
Right.
But the reason the ministry is not going that tangent is because the elephant in the room has been eliminated.
Which is
the 9 forest reserves, which then were designated red spots, no-go areas. They had been encroached and taken over by armed illegal miners. As of now, we have been able to repossess all of those 9 forest reserves.
So you're saying that there's nobody in there who is doing any form of mining at all?
Absolutely. Indeed, we have 288 forest reserves. 9 have been besieged and impacted. No, 44 out of the 288. Then out of that 44, you have 9 that had been designated red spots. It is in the light of that situation that the advocacy was very rife.
But 9 out of 44, it pales in the shadows. That's a drop in the ocean, kind of.
Not necessarily, especially when for those 9, they were completely taken over by armed illegal miners. For those, the remaining out of the 44, yes, there was illegal
Can we, for
there.
example, do targeted, state of emergency?
Exactly. That concern again is valid, except that if you are going to embark on a declaration of a targeted state of emergency, the obvious question would be that where are you targeting, so to speak? Indeed, we all know there are 6 endemic regions where galamsey festers the most, but the declaration of a state of emergency, it would have been done or would have applied to those 9 forest reserves that had been taken over by the 9 armed illegal miners. As of now, you have repossessed those 9. through the ingenuity and the instrumentality of the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat and the other mechanisms by the ministry. And that is why, to an extent, not to be dismissive, it makes the call momentarily moot now, because you have actually cleared the challenge, the threats that warranted that call. But I have to also say that in as much as perhaps now it may not be an active consideration, if we think at any given point that, look, we still have to go ahead, the ministry is open to it, because we are firing from all cylinders and we are considering every other option as of now. About the cause for the dismissal and
investigation for complicity.
When the minister engaged the press some 2 weeks ago, he indicated very strongly that nobody would be covered in the fight against illegal mining.
We've heard that before.
Regardless of...
We've heard that before. Haji Alima Mahama, who was a lawyer, now was an ambassador to the U.S., put all MMDCs in one room and told them that she knows those of them who are engaged in galamsey. We never heard any. I'm sure that when a lawyer speaks, it comes with a lot of thinking before the speech happens.
Absolutely.
And we saw no action. So how do we put weight on what you are saying?
This time around, we are seeing some accompanying action, because immediately after that declaration, after that assurance that the minister gave when he mounted the podium at the Government Accountability Series, we would now see that 2 leading members of the ruling party have currently become subjects of interest in an ongoing probe.
But no DC has been sacked from any of the 7 or 9 forest reserves that you say have been reclaimed.
That's fine. The point I want to make is that the sector minister belongs to a political party. If leading members of the party, for the records, we are talking about, for example, the 3rd national vice chairman of the party, and then we're also talking about the organizer of the whole infrastructure of the party. If there is reason to, as it were, engage these individuals on relevant allegations, then comparatively, what becomes of MMDCs? It means nobody would be spared at the end of the day. That is why it is not mere talk. Because, again, I'm saying they belong to the minister's party, yet the minister is actively backing and supporting all of those investigative processes. So if there is ground, I heard Mr. Ashigbe make this calls, Dr. Ken Ashigbe, sorry. He made those calls, a few days ago. When we heard it, we took notice of it. If we get the facts of their complicity and their involvement and their collaboration with the illegal man, of course, nobody
how
will
do you
spared.
ensure,
Absolutely.
for example, and I'll come to you, engineer, in a bit, but how do you ensure, as a ministry, in terms of collaborating with the Ministry of Local Government, to say that, look, come and do every 3 months, come and give an assessment of your performance, come and tell us what's happening? Because what happened in the Ashanti region, where you found illegal miners coming straight at the police, it only had to take the strength and the tenacity of the policemen to say, look, we will not back down, we will go ahead. Right? In the past, some people have given up and said, okay, one of the policemen were ahead. But how are you collaborating with the Ministry of Local Government to say that, come and give us some situational reports at least every 3 months, so we know that you are not complicit, you are doing some good work?
Collaboration on all fronts is very active now. Yes, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources may appear as the anchor ministry leading the fight, but it's in conjunction with every other government agency and outfit. There are regular interministerial conversations that go on. And so in terms of briefing on what is happening at the local levels, all of that, it's actually being done consistently. So we would only, as of now, perhaps enhance it and get the briefings on what is happening at each locality. It's interesting to note that NIMOS, actually, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, has intelligence covered across all of these local enclaves. And so periodically we get the updates. So that framework of they having to come and render account is something worth considering.
Let me go back to Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, but also to welcome Dr. Ramsey Nusa of the Movement for Change. Doc, I come to you now, and as we wrap up with you, this is what the ministry has said, that look, state of emergency moot now because the areas that were a danger to us have now been reclaimed by or repossessed by the ministry or by the state. What do you say to that?
Again, let me tell my brother that, when we started advocating for a state of emergency, it was not because 47 forest reserves were classified as red, or the nine of them were classified as red, and the nine that even have been classified as red. All that has happened is that they've come back to amber. It does not mean the threat has gone away. And the challenge that we're dealing with was not only forest reserves. If you go on the road from Takwa, Wasai Kropong all the way, there are people currently sitting by the side of the roads. If you go to Osino, there are people sitting in town doing town mining. On the Ankobra, on the Ofen, there are people still sitting on those river bodies that we're not dealing with. Let me remind him, one of these forest reserves that had been reclaimed, a forestry officer went into that space and he was hacked. He spent time in Komfanoche dealing with the challenge. So let me tell him also, when we have conversation with some of the military people, they agree that the targeted state of emergency is important. How do you deal with the situation that he says has come to their notice? A situation where police people go into a community and they are pelted by storm. Evidence of one of the policemen, if you see his mouth bleeding. Yeah, it took the professionalism of this police people not to have killed anybody because of the attack. So it is in these communities. You remember the situation of Anabisu going into a particular community. You remember the situation of Abrewa and Ninkran. Abrewa and Ninkran is still, the people have returned. You know, Naimos is doing a great job, but you see, they cannot be there all the time. And there's a complaint that even his minister has made. How many of the people who have been arrested have been prosecuted? Under a state of emergency, you will get special powers that will be able to speed up these prosecutions. Let me give you a parallel example. In the UK, when they had those riots were taking place, they had situations where they set up courts. In 24 hours, you could be arrested and then you could be prosecuted. So when you have a situation where people have attacked a police force, and there's video evidence of it, and then on your Alfredo Kante spoke to this DC I'm talking about, who is on tape to now say that he has initiated investigation, but then he has said that the place that the people were at was not a mining site. How do you deal with situations like this? You see, because the thing about these people is that they are in different places at different times. And because you cannot be everywhere at a particular time, if you know that these water bodies are no-go areas and you declare the state of emergency over them, anybody who is seen that you will deal with. If you drive into some of these communities, the number of excavators you see from the Anyamfuri all the way to the Opasi areas and all of that, what work are taking place there? What concessions, what legal concessions are these people working on? You have all of these excavators there. If you have a state of emergency in those particular places, those people who are owners of those excavators, you could tell them that they have 24 hours to getting their excavators, registered, so that they cannot tell us which road they are working on, or they cannot tell us which legal concession they are working on. Immediately you can impound them. So these are the reasons that are tangible reasons why the state of emergency has to be declared. And we met with the minister when His Excellency said the minister should meet us on his behalf.
Right.
These were issues that we've tabled, and the minister had said he was going to pass them on to His Excellency the President. We would be pushing to meet His Excellency and say that these things are important to do. And again, the reason why a state of emergency will be important, then I will not have my brother sitting in the studio after the DCE has misspoken and demonstrated his incompetence and giving us, credible suspicion that he might be complicit. And after how many days, no decision has been taken. Within a state of emergency in his district, he would immediately be picked up. He talks about the issue of the fact that, and again, that should be commended. When in the last regime, I asked President Mahama in Kufuria about Akunta mining. who is involved, who also, again, there's clear evidence that he was involved in mining in the Tano Numeri Forest Reserve without a permit, where there was clear evidence that even his mining outside the Numeri Forest Reserve, he was breaching the buffer policy with the Tano River. Clear evidence. His minister himself has declared him as being involved in an illegality. The Minerals Commission has confirmed it. I asked His Excellency the President, former President, in Koforidua. He told me that he was not involved in galamsey as we speak. Fortunately, this particular president has allowed for his Attorney General to be able to ask an investigation to two leading persons. That is good. But the question you ask yourself is that what has Iyoko done since this information went out? We saw the situation of Akonta Mining, the fact that he was hauled in, and has that happened to these two people that we're talking about? We have had one of them threatened. And what is happening to it? And so that's what we're talking about. We need to be decisive. And it's true. Even Akonta Mining, after the arrest, we've not seen him in court. We saw him at the Thanksgiving, the memorial service, rather. He's not in jail. What has happened to the people for suffering from what he mentioned? That has a lot of MPP politically exposed persons who by now should be, be investigated and should be approaching the court. What has happened to even some other, apart from the two that my brother mentioned? There's also the NDC MP for our win, who was accused of being involved in an illegality. You know what has happened? And we petitioned the Speaker of Parliament.
Right.
But you know what? Rather, what has happened is that he's been made the deputy chairperson of a very influential committee that would have access to security briefings and all of that. The NDC constituency chairperson for Dunkop. They've all been named publicly. And so this is what I would be, as a coalition, we will be hoping that His Excellency, looking at the pain that he's suffered, where one of them, he calls his confidant, has had to sacrifice his life to ensure responsible mining. All of these people should again, we are not asking for extrajudiciary anything. We're not asking for a shoot to kill. All we're saying is that we need to be robust in our handling of these people. Take them through the processes that are outlined and ensure that the right things are will be done. Zixus, I will stay with you for a while. I have given
I know, yes, and we appreciate your time this morning. We're grateful to you, Togbe Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, for your time this morning.
I'll stay. Zixus, I'm available. I'm available for maybe another 30 minutes.
Right. So let me bring in Dr. Ramsey then. Only fair that we also give him the microphone to speak. Now,
that's right.
The illegal mining conversation, I'm sure you followed the conversation.
Yeah.
From where you sit, what does your movement suggest or have to suggest to the government in terms of stamping this in, once and for all?
Great. Good morning to your good self, Johnny. And I'm very proud of you for the good work you're doing for Mother Ghana.
We're grateful.
Let me say good morning to my brother from the Ministries of Lands and Natural Resources. And a good morning to your listeners and your viewers. Johnny, I sit here very saddened by the predicament of galamsey and the challenges that we are faced with as a nation by the menace of galamsey. Yes, indeed, the anthropogenic activities of illegal miners does not only pose a health risk, but also a social and economic risk on our country and our economy. And that is why our leader, Honorable Alan Kojo Martin of the Movement for Change, has released a 10-point solution to eradicate galamsey. And if you permit me to go through the 10 points for the people of Ghana,
we can obviously do
I will try my best to squeeze it within the shortest time. So by an executive instrument, number one, the first thing we want the government of the day to do is that by an executive instrument, they should ban all small-scale and artisanal mining activities, whether illegal or legal, within a period of 1 year with immediate effect.
Okay.
Number two, the Parliament should suspend to suspend under a certificate of urgency the application of an LI 2462.
Okay.
Right? That enables people to mine in our forest reserves. And we know that under Article 106.13 of our 1992 Constitution and Standing Orders 119 of our parliament, it permits parliament to be able to pass bill in an impetuous manner within a day for the president to assent on. We've seen that in 2025, the Road Maintenance Trust Fund Bill 2025 was passed under a certificate of urgency, right?
Emergency.
Yeah, emergency. And so the third one is that we want the government to revoke all small-scale and community mining licenses issued by the Minerals Commission within the last 15 years. So all small-scale and community mining licenses within the past 15 years should be suspended.
Okay.
And then we should have an audit as to whether some companies that are legally registered and have the license to indulge in mining are really acting according to the law set by the Minerals Commission.
Let's move on.
Right. The fourth one is to issue new mining licenses after the audit exercise. So when they find that some companies have violated it, right, they should scrap them off the list of companies that have licenses, and then we should issue new licenses, right, to the miners that are dealing legally within the legal framework set for miners, right? So that we know that these are the credible miners that we need to support and we need to use. The fifth one is to demobilize all machinery equipment, and I must commend the minister for engaging in such. And when we demobilize all this earth-moving equipment, including the excavators and the rest, we should allow the military, the 48th Regiment Brigade of the military, to take inventory and stock of these materials and store them. We've heard in the past that whenever the president sets up a task force for galamsey, machines and excavators are captured, they are stored, and some people have used their unpatriotic attitude to sell them back to these illegal miners. And that is why we want to involve the military this time around, so that the military will take inventory of these earth-moving materials. The fifth one is to establish a fund. To establish a fund for a comprehensive program for the restoration and regeneration of all degraded sites within 1 year period of the ban of small-scale mining. And we want young men and women currently engaged in small-scale mining activities to be deployed under the said program. And this said program will be led and supervised by the Forestry Commission with technical oversight by the Forestry Research Institute of the CSIR. So there should be a joint collaboration between the Forestry Research Institute of CSIR and then the Forestry Commission. We believe that we can also have a scientific approach. They have all the erudites when it comes to environmental protection and restoration, so that our degraded lands and river bodies would be restored to its natural state. The seventh one. You said you were going to compress it, or it looks like you are now expanding it. Well, yes. Well, you are not being fair. If you forgive me, I mean, let me just wrap it up. The last one is to establish a new youth in responsible mining initiative under which young groups of persons, right, previously engaged in galamsey will be supported by the government to establish and own mining companies as private legal commercial entities, not cooperatives. These youth-owned mining companies will be provided with mining licensing rights and other permits, as well as machinery and equipment for mining activities under a work and pay basis with off-taker agreements from the Gold Board. So imagine young people who were dealing in illegal mining. This time around, we've trained them to be responsible when they are mining. We support them with some environmental friendly machines, right? And then they sign a contract with the Gold Board to ensure that this purchase, this gold, goes directly to the Gold Board and does not go through middlemen who would then smuggle it out of the country. And it will be of value to the people of Ghana.
Let me bring in Engineer Doctor. Engineer, so do you also suggest support the call that the leadership in most of these agencies under which that work under the ministry, the licensing regime, etc., should be overhauled so that we don't have the same old faces being at the same places, because there are fears that they could be complicit in all of what we are facing? What do you say?
Well, I think that the interesting thing is that the current ministry is doing some review of the licensing already. I know the large-scale mining, the large-scale mining committee has even been set up now. The small-scale one has been completed. Some of them would have to do some correction on their licensing and all of that. So that's currently going on, and there is a proposed revision of the licensing so that instead of what happened in Yao Krom, where they are sitting and they are surprised by people who come there with licensing, the licensing will start from the local communities before it goes. So that's already things that this current government is pushing on. What we would need to do is make sure that there's accountability so that we don't transfer the challenges that we faced in the past at the national level now to the local places where there will also not be accountability. You want to make sure that if it is the chiefs, the district people at the district level who are supposed to be doing this, it's not just another means of there's also exacting some bribery and making it very transparent and making only one political parties then get to benefit from it. But it's very transparent, and so those are the things that we in all of these things that we say we want to do. We need to make them as transparent as possible and make sure that we do use a lot of technology in doing them so that you take the human intervention where you have to go and see somebody before a document is signed for you. If you are not Kokofu football, if you are not part of them, they don't pass to you. We need to take all of that down. And then we also need to add the citizens, as a check to all of these things that are going to be done so that, there's some transparency. You can see there's a website you can go to and say this and A and B and person looked at it. Right. The issues about, so if you look at what they talked about the responsible brigade mining, the new responsible cooperative mining scheme has a lot of those elements. Fortunately for us, we are engaging the ministry to be able to make our inputs, because we believe that so this I speak as the CEO for the Ghana Chamber of Mines. Right. We believe that it's a progressive way of doing it. We will support it, but there's a lot of transparency that is required, a lot of accountability that is in it. Fortunately, it's taking the failures of the last one, is building on it, and we all need to engage to make sure that document works well. But before you can put all of this in process, you need to make sure that you have sanitized the thing. For the coalition, we are not a firm believer of, I don't know, let me not say the coalition, a few members might be, but, personally, I'm not a firm believer of banning all small-scale mining, right. Because we know we did that some time past. The time we banned 2 years, yes. That was the year we exported a lot more of the gold. So what we want to do is that make sure that you are dealing with the illegality and make sure that everybody else who is doing it the right way. And so it is just about, and the laws exist, the regulations exist. The thing about it is the implementation and also taking out the politically exposed persons who are involved in this. And that is the challenge. That is the big elephant that is in the room. The fact that these politically exposed persons, not only have they influenced these illegal miners, not only have they influenced people, but now they are gradually even buying political power. They're using their money to put their people in there, but they themselves are coming into that space. So if we don't deal with this situation as robustly as we ought to do, especially, when we have a president who, has seen it all before in opposition, has seen it all before in power, gone to opposition and learned and has come back and does not have to stand again for power, so will not have to pander to anybody. He has a window of about 1 and 2 years, about another 1.5 years left to be able to deal with this one. Otherwise, when we start getting people clamoring for his seat, you will find out that everything will be thrown to the dogs. It's the same thing that happened with the NPP. When the first tenure of President Anadu, we saw how robust some of the things were happening. But when we're getting close to the 2020 elections, then everything was thrown to the dogs, and then afterwards, it was all thrown to the dogs. So we all stand the risk, and all well-meaning Ghanaians who have Ghana at heart, we need to support this current president, this current minister who has also demonstrated a lot of, passion to want to solve this problem. We need to support him. Unfortunately, one of his key supporters, was the Minister for Defense, who unfortunately is gone. But in his honor, we need to ensure. For me, the best monument that we can do for this aid is to make sure that within a year and a half, we have moved Ghana back onto, the path of responsible mining. Peru did it. Even Australia also did it. So the elements are there. All we need to do is for the middle class to stop their docility and start be sitting aloof when all of these things are happening. We all need to take on the call that has been made by the minister to support, to make sure that we deal well with this particular canker that faces us.
Speaking of support, the labor unions or the labor front are now coming back to the table. You remember towards the last election, the general election that we had in 2024, when everybody had called on them to declare a nationwide strike to get the government to act in a certain way, they literally chickened out. Now they are coming back with some shedding tears on live camera and telling all of us that we must stop illegal mining. I don't know what your thoughts are about that as well.
I think that it is very important, but we also should bear in mind that before even this happened, UTAG had given the government some time to do some work. So we've seen at least UTAG has been a bit consistent in the way they're dealing with it. It's good that we're beginning to, because we need the labor union. We need so I was talking to His Grace, the Archbishop, my Archbishop of Accra, that I think it's time that we went back again to pray. The Catholic Church in Accra organized that prayer walk. We need to do that again. We need to get, all the religious leaders, all the traditional leaders, coming back again. We need to demonstrate to those few people who are taking us for a big ride that we are more than we are. And we need to let the president know that he has the support of majority of Ghanaians. We need to let the minister know that. I want to tell the former president when he says that they lost the election because they were fighting this galamsey. He's wrong. The evidence is that they lost the election because they failed to fight it. And the NDC should bear that in mind. The people who are suffering from this are more than the few people who are benefiting from this.
Right.
We need to make sure that our brothers and sisters who are in the pit mining, who themselves are victims, we help them to do it so that they keep a lot of the resources. Currently, it's only a few people, the people who they work for, who are taking the money. Even the foreigners, the Chinese who come into the system, when they bring the resources, they take 85%. And our folks who work for them take 15%. So our brothers and sisters who are in the pits, they themselves are victims. And we need to save them so that they get back into responsible mining. Fortunately, if you look at the responsible mining document that we have, the share of the resources within it is better and more equitable. Now there would be a central processing plant and all of that are going to be in there. My plea to anybody who thinks that galamsey is a solution, it is not. You yourself who are in the pits, you are a victim. You are suffering. The cyanide you are dealing with, the mercury you are dealing with, it is killing you yourself. Let us all return to responsible mining where you can mine well and make sure that the wealth yourself you're going to be getting. It is said that currently the small-scale miners are getting, they're exporting about 50%, almost more than what the large-scale miners. But you go to any of these communities where there's all of this small-scale mining and see, where is the wealth? Where is the money? The money is leaving them. So they should all come. We should all come together. Even they, I know that the small-scale mining association themselves, members, they are in support for responsible mining. Even some of them, their concessions are being encroached upon. So our brothers and sisters, the small-scale miners, those who want to do small-scale mining, they call themselves the Gala. Please come on board, support the president in cleaning our act together. Let's get out of our water body, our forest reserves, and so that we can save our country Ghana.
Our parting question, you talk about responsible mining, the Blue Water Guard that is set up by the government. Do you think that they will have any critical role to play to help us to end this?
The Blue Water Guard, the minister knows my position on that. And my question I want to, again, like a scientist and an engineer, what I would want to do, and when we met the minister, we asked for that. Let's look at, since we brought the water guard, what has been their impact. You see, we should be focused on impact. And so to be able to do impact analysis, what you want to do is to take the turbidity of our water bodies and say, what has been their impact? So I hear them, so they are in there. I'm not sure it's the most effective one, but well, it's fine. I understand that they are providing intelligence and all of that. Good, but again, in all of these things that we're doing, and monitoring and evaluation is very important. So let's take the impact of everything we're doing, measure it. If it's not working well, then you do a Kaizen, constant improvement of the processes that they're in. So that initiative has come, So let's go back and measure it and see if we can tweak it in any way. If it is working well and the turbidities in the places they are working well, great and good. But for me, I'm not sure it's one of, if it was my scale of preferences, I will put the work that the ministry has done in terms of the excavator that they're dealing with. I will put that higher ahead of that. I will put the NIMOS, ahead of a coordinated, I will put that ahead of that, and that one I would have done in my 5th year when everything, else was working well. I would have brought my Navy and put them on there. I would have given my Air Force drones and choppers that will fly sorties over this. I would have put my engineers regiment in these particular places. I would empower the forestry guard, give them superior firepower so that they will be able to match these criminals that are in these places fire for fire before I would do the Blue Water Guard.
Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe Togbi, thank you very, very much indeed.
You added one doctor to the thing. Please, I don't want...
you don't want detect troubles, eh? Togbi, thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
And Inke Kanenyo.
Nanyo na bikatalo. Nanyo with the Ghana Nanyo. Ghana Arabo Onyo.
Akpagobo. Thank you. So that's Engineer Ken Ashigbe. Let's begin from Ramsey, I'll come to you in a minute. Let's begin from the Blue Water Guard and NIMOS conversation. They said they will put NIMOS ahead of the Blue Water Guard because it's looking for impact. What has been the impact of the Blue Water Guard since you brought them into the picture?
I think the function and the role of the Blue Water Guards has been widely misunderstood. A lot of people have construed them to mean a combative fighting mechanism. That is not what they do. They only provide communal intelligence based on which NIMOS then comes into act.
But we see them in the water.
I understand. I've seen them.
But we've seen them in the water.
Of course.
Chasing people.
Absolutely. We have visuals and all of those. Okay. But I'm saying that primarily what they are deployed to do is to gather intelligence, and that is why you would not see them necessarily armed like the way the personnel from NIMOS would be, disposed in that manner. Right. That's the essence of NIMOS. So,
but did they get the memo before they jumped into the water?
No, I'm saying the point I'm making is that primarily,
I hear you.
But of course, when it push comes to shove and they have to take a step further, they would. But generally, when you look at the framework, the structure of the Blue Water Guards, they are not to be, if I have to put it this way, maybe exchanging bullets and they are not the combative troop. The combative troop is NIMOS, so they work in collaboration with them. And so if you want to do an appraisal of them, or if you want to run an assessment of their relevance, it should first come from that point. Are they indeed giving the necessary feedback and intelligence that is compelling NIMOS to act? Yes, in our books they are. Yet they are also doing other things, effecting arrest and all of those. Those are complementary, but primarily based on the function that they were administratively deployed to do. We know that they are doing well. But let me touch on what Doc was saying. I listened attentively to the raft of suggestions and the interventions and all the recommendations that he has put on board this morning. The truth of the matter is that a good number of them are already being implemented in diverse ways. Some are also being considered. And for those ones that have not even come into our basket, we are open to it because the fight against illegal mining is a national call, so to speak. So it is not a political circles where it is about who is doing what at which particular time. Anything at all that would inure to the progress of the fighters welcomed. When I listened to the suggestions from the movement for change, a good number of them, a good number of them are actually being implemented already. For example, when you talk about the reclamation efforts and then dechemicalizing our water bodies and then creating a framework of employment for young people, all of those things are being done already at various levels. But of course, we have to, put more foot on the gas and then do more. And the minister is committed to it. I would wrap up on this note. For me, this is my personal opinion. I believe it carries the inspiration of the ministry as well. When it comes to the fight against illegal mining, if you put all the raft of interventions together, the thoughtful strategies and all the measures, if you assemble a crack experts of environmentalists to put up suggestions, and then they curve very reasonable pathways, but you do not have this one ingredient called the political will to implement them, it will be moot and much ado about nothing. But we have it now, and that is why we should keep
Dr.
Inusa,
let me come to you now. I know you have to go. There's another important, equally important program. But as we wrap up now, you heard Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe reiterating some of the things that you had said.
Absolutely.
That it should be the plan going forward.
Absolutely.
Do you get a sense that the government will be yielding to it?
Well,
Pakwesi said some of the things have been done already.
That is the ultimate solution. I mean, if you are caught up in a situation and you need a tool to get out of that situation, of course, any rational human being will use what is best to be able to get out of that situation. That is a 10-point key solution that we have highlighted and intimated in our course to ensure that galamsey will be a thing of the past. And let me commend Engineer Ken Ashigbe for the good work he's doing for Ghana. Indeed, he has shown some high level of spirit of patriotism, and that Ghana first. And that is one of the tenets and an opinion spirit of the movement for change. My brother here from the Ministry of Natural Resources,
Lands and Natural Resources,
should understand that for us to have the backing of our traditional authorities, we have to go back to our constitution and amend Article 2576 of the 1992 Constitution to make our traditional authorities co-trustees of our mineral resource. And I say that because, Johnny, you know that people will sit in Accra and issue licenses without the chief who has his or her allodial rights on that land, knowing anything about it, without his or her interests being taken care of. And so that is why you see that our chiefs will just be reluctant and also do their own bidding when it comes to the fight against galamsey. And even some of them are even complicit against the fight. And that is why we are saying that to have their full backing, we have to ensure that we create that legal framework. And the first step we need to take is to amend the Constitution, Article 2576 of the 1992 Constitution. And let me also say that the fight against galamsey needs some form of innovation and efficiency, right? The blue water guard that they brought, right? I would have thought that maybe these guards, you limit their numbers, you train them on how to use drones, right, for surveillance. And this is an efficient way. I quite remember the previous government under the Ministry of and the leadership of Professor Frimpong Boateng. They procured certain drones, but later we heard that they were missing whatsoever. I don't know how best you are following up on this issue.
Okay.
Yes. And so we want to see some efficiency, right, and pragmatism. And I'm glad that he has spoken about the political will. And it is that will that we are calling on the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to scrap and revoke LI 2462.
Thank you.
And that is why your minister sat on national television and he cried when he saw the videos of galamsey. So when you tell me that there's no need for enacting a state of emergency, I mean, I beg to differ.
Okay.
Let us be serious against the fight against galamsey.
I know that you have to go next.
We should depoliticize it, and we should ensure that we have pragmatic solutions, the ones that we propose from we members of Women for Change to your outfit, so that we can be able to put galamsey to a stop.
Thank you, Dr. Ramsey Inusa. You have the closing thoughts, Pakwesi. What do you have to share with us before you leave?
Again, I would continue from where I stopped. The existence of the political will. Again, if you have all the beautiful strategies, the well thought out recommendations and policy propositions, but you do not have the political will, you are not going to go anywhere. Because if you examine the fight very well, clearly it is the, if you like, the political elite or the high-ups in society who are facilitating all of this illegality or environmental terrorism, as we would want to put it in some context. Those who are involved are power brokers, so to speak. So if the actual custodians of power are equally concerned about fighting them. We'll make progress. Thankfully, the minister has that willingness. The president also has that willingness. And so let's continue to keep hopes alive.
Pagwesi Shandoff, we're grateful that you could join us. He speaks for the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources in regards to the Honorable Minister and the team at the Ministry. We're grateful that you joined us this morning.
Thank you
very much.